back to the Scarlet Faithful podcast, and a happy Saturday for Rutgers football, pulling out a 35-20 win over Maryland at home in a must-win situation to stay remain bowl eligible, possibility of making a bowl. And after last week, there was not a lot of hope, at least in my mind. Truthfully, I said so in the preview. And to see them come out and, be in a dogfight, down 17-14, late second quarter, defense giving up over 3 rushes of over 50 yards at that point in the game. You felt like, it was going to be a back and forth game that Rutgers wasn't going to win. And they were able to put together back-to-back drives, one at the end of the first half, one at the start of the second half, to take control of the game, score touchdowns on both. And they took a 28-17 lead and with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, and they assumed control the rest of the way. Gave up just 3 second-half points to Maryland. This was really the opposite of everything that's happened this season in terms of, not starting out with a lead and having to fight your way back and to be able to just kind of take control over, make adjustments at halftime, come out in the second half, and just be clearly the better team. And all the credit to Greg Schiano and his staff. I mean, I tweeted after the game, and I'm a little bit late on this. I was not live on the game today. I had stuff with the family in the city. And, this is what he does best. This is what he's done best at Rutgers since he's been back. It's just when this team, when little hope exists, when this team is essentially on the mat, backs against the wall, he comes up with some big wins like this to save the season. And this certainly has helped perception and narrative of this season, even if they do not beat Penn State in the last week and become bowl eligible. Still 2 Big Ten wins, 5-7 worst case scenario. Again, not the goal, not acceptable in terms of a long-term ceiling, but you avoid a devastating season. You avoid a terrible step back. And, I think Schiano is often labeled a very good program builder and not a good game day coach. One thing I don't think he gets enough credit for is being a true motivator, because you don't get your team to perform at the level they did today after a performance like last week and after how the season's gone and with all the injuries and just the poor play of the defense all year, some of the adversity within the coaching staff with some of the moves that have been made. You don't get your team to perform at this level that they did today without being a great motivator and keeping your team together and keeping your players believing. And that is what Schiano does best. And to be able to produce a win like this. And now I said before the game, Maryland on paper was a better team than Rutgers coming into this game, just in terms of the pure results. They came in with a 4-game losing streak. But, had much more competitive games than Rutgers in Big Ten play this year. In terms of their 4-game losing streak, they lost to Washington by 4. They lost to Nebraska by 3. They lost to UCLA by 3. They did get blown out by Indiana. But they had been overall more competitive than Rutgers had of late. They were more competitive against Washington for sure. So I think to see Rutgers be able to assume control, kind of limit the offense in the second half, all those big run plays that occurred in this game, 3 plus 50-yard rushes, which is awful. Don't get me wrong. They were all in the first half, and Rutgers was able to pull it together. I'm just pulling up the big plays. And all of Maryland's big plays in this game, except 3 pass plays, 3 rush plays. They had a 13, a 20, and a 21-yard rush in the third quarter. But their 73-yard run, 54-yard run, and 53-yard run were all in the first half. Their 2 big pass plays were all in the first half. Defense, again, not great. Wasn't able to get a lot of pressure. Just 3 tackles for losses. I don't think they had any sacks in this game. I don't think they did. If they did, it was just 1. 0 sacks, 3 tackles for losses. They did force 2 turnovers. They forced a fumble and had 1 turnover. They only, I think, several keys in this game, right? You had red zone. Rutgers won the red zone. 4 out of 6 trips. Maryland just 1 trip in the red zone. They were, scored a touchdown in the red zone. Rutgers 4 touchdowns and 6 trips to the red zone. David Anderson and I talked about winning the red zone was so key in this game, and obviously that's typically, the case. But for two teams that struggled on both ends of, defending in the red zone and scoring in the red zone, Rutgers clearly had the edge there. Overall, also just third down conversions. Rutgers 8 of 12 in this game, holding Maryland to 4 of 12. Just 1 penalty for Rutgers, 5 for Maryland. They controlled the time of possession, 35 minutes. This was Greg Schiano talks about it all the time. Complementary football. This was a true complementary football type performance from Rutgers. The offense, the defense, the rushing, the passing on offense. 229 passing yards, 256 rushing yards. What can you say about Antwan Raymond becoming just the 9th Scarlet Knight to have 1,000 yards rushing for the season, and also the 3rd highest individual total in the game, 240 yards on 41 carries, 5.9 yards a carry. Had the touchdown to seal the victory. And look at these rushing totals in the fourth quarter. It's pretty amazing just in terms of what he was able to do. He had rushes in the fourth quarter of 13, 16, 21, and 34 yards. He had 84 yards on 4 rushes alone, not to mention the other yards in the fourth quarter. He was, it's not fair to compare him to Kyle Monanga, but Kyle Monanga was so amazing for this program the last 2 years in sealing victories, and Raymond just emulated that to a T today. What an unbelievable performance. He brought stability to this offense that they desperately needed. We knew Maryland struggled against the run. Rutgers was able to exploit it, and it really complemented and opened up things in the pass game. They were a run-first team today in a way they haven't been, but they were able to be extremely, extremely effective in the pass game because they were so good on the ground. Ethan Kaliakmanis, as efficient as the day he's had in a while, he's had some struggles, but in this game, 65% completion rate, 13 of 20, just 20 passes, 220 yards, 4 touchdowns, did have 2 early interceptions, struggled there, but Ian Strong, what a game for him. 3 touchdowns. Great to see him playing better and a little more healthy. He did have 5 catches, 88 yards. D.T. Sheffield had a touchdown today, 4 catches, 56 yards. Duff just 2 catches, but had 69 yards, including a 49-yard reception. Rutgers more selective in the pass game, but effective when they were off of the run game. Were able to control this game and really wore down Maryland in that second half. And it was a thing of beauty. They've beaten down Maryland 2 years in a row after losing 3 years in a row. And Maryland is a team, everybody talks about, Rutgers wanting Penn State to be its rival, but really Maryland is much closer to that. And Rutgers has outplayed that program 2 years in a row. Mike Loxley on the downslide. This has essentially knocked them out of bowl contention. And this game propped Rutgers up just like it did last year as well. And that was a spirited performance at College Park last year. It was a spirited performance in this game. And in a game they had to have. They had to have. Listen, it wasn't perfect. Obviously, defense gave up some big plays. Obviously, the offense, could have and should have scored more, I think, in this game. Definitely, in Maryland territory, not fully taking advantage. But they didn't have to play a perfect game. That was the whole point. They just had to play winning football, and they did. They were complimentary. They won the red zone. They were more efficient in third down. They won the turnover battle. They had forced 2 turnovers. And were able to make big stops on defense in the second half when they needed them. They got that 3 and out that shifted the game, and Rutgers had a chance to go down and get the knockout punch, and they got it. They came through when they needed to, and it was great to see Rutgers not only just win this game, but win in which the way they did. Obviously, a huge win for them. They're now 5-5, 2-5 Big Ten play. You go into a bye week, you have some confidence, you're feeling better about yourselves, and you have a real chance to make a bowl now. Now, obviously, you go to Columbus after the bye. That's going to be extremely difficult. And you just have to get out of that game healthy. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. That would be what a way to end the winless streak against ranked teams by going to the horseshoe and beating Ohio State. But those are a little bit, I think, delusions of grandeur, especially with this defense. Still a lot to improve on. However, you come home. Now, Penn State almost shocked Indiana, number 2 team in the country, at Happy Valley today. lost 27-24, gave up a touchdown with 36 seconds to go, I think. Listen, Penn State is still going to come to Piscataway, the much more talented team. Not even a question. But will they come in with something to play for? It's senior day for Rutgers. They have everything to play for now. You gave a chance. This team has everything to play for on senior day, on Thanksgiving weekend. And that's a great thing. Now, listen, there's, Schiano in this program deserves a lot of criticism when they played subpar and lost. And I said this last year. And when they have days like this, they deserve all the praise. So I don't want to hear comments, you were so hard on them, they shouldn't have been criticized. Yes, they deserved all the criticism they got when they were losing and playing poorly and missing opportunities. But today they came through in a big way. They show the character of this program and deserve all the praise for that. After the season is when you can complain and have the conversation. Hey, you know what? We deserve more than just a 6-6 bowl, a third-tier bowl ceiling. And that is true. But you know what? It's going to be a heck of a lot more fun conversation to say that should be the floor versus having a season that went 3-9 or 4-8, which, that Purdue win is even more important now. Because if you lose that game, the season certainly goes off the rails. You squeak out that game barely, and look at this. 2 weeks later, after a terrible performance against Illinois, you get a big win against Maryland. And if even if they don't beat Penn State and they're 5-7, but if you do beat Penn State, you go to a bowl. Listen, in a down year to go 6-6 and make a bowl game and beat Penn State and Maryland, for a down year, you'll take it. Yes. Does Schiano need to get this program to a higher level long-term? Absolutely. That's everyone's hope and goal. And with Kelly's in here now and NIL and all that, he's going to have more resources than he's ever had. But he's got to survive this season, just not in terms of being on the hot seat, but in terms of perception of the program, needing momentum to carry through in the offseason on the recruiting trail, in the portal. When you do have more money, you need to have results behind you. And people will scoff and say, 5-7, 6-6 bowl game. Well, you know what? This team was on the edge. They were on the edge. The defense, this is going to be a historically bad defense still. Mike Broadbent pointed out this week that they've given up 8 yards per play on defense, which is going to be the worst in modern Big Ten era. What was it today? Total plays. They gave up 7.1 yards. That's not going to help the average much. They're going to be 7.9, 7.8 for the season. That's still historically the worst. So this defense is historically bad. But if you can go 6-6 with a historically bad defense, it's kind of the anti-Schiano thinking, but it's an accomplishment in and of itself. And they have a chance to do that. And I think even just having a chance to this point, to be honest with you, is a surprise. Now, again, expectations are higher, should be higher, will be higher moving forward. But if your floor is 6-6 in a bowl game, you know what? For where this program has been over the years, you just can't have the floor every year, right? You got to have a ceiling at some point. But if this is a floor, then you got to be pretty. That's something. I'm not saying you have to be pretty happy with it, but could be a heck of a lot worse. And Rutgers is one step closer to making that a reality after this win against Maryland on Saturday, 35-20, trailing most of the first half, coming through with a big touchdown drive at the end of the first half, and then scoring on their first drive at a halftime to flip the game in a way that Rutgers has not been able to do all season. They haven't been able to do it in the way in which they did it today. The most complete win of the season. True complimentary football. It was great to see the offense back and play in a style that, they're probably going to have to win that way against Penn State. They're going to have to run the ball against Penn State. They never have been able to. So can they this year? We'll see. We have a bye game now to get a little more healthy, to really prepare for those last 2 weeks. Not as daunting as it was before the season, but you have an opportunity here with Penn State coming, and you go to Ohio State with nothing to lose and confidence. So, hey, you know what? Who knows? Maybe they give the Buckeyes a game, but you got to give a lot of credit to Greg Schiano, this coaching staff, to these players for them overcoming adversity, for their ability to keep chopping, truly the mentality of this program. And they made it a reality on Saturday in Piscataway. Thanks so much for listening and watching once again here at the Scarlet Faithful podcast.